Our programs offer many languages. Please visit suprememastertv.com/schedule.
Sri Aurobindo was visited by visions of Vasudeva. A spiritual transformation came over him. He saw God's presence in all things. Sri Aurobindo, Vegetarian, Integral Yoga for Divine Awakening, Part 1 of 2. Continue watching to find out more.
Ndali means hello in Mazatec, an Ottomangan language spoken by the indigenous Mazatec people. I am Julieta. The spiritual people of the Mazatec nation thank you for being such good stewards of our precious earth, and pray that all of humanity follows in your noble footsteps for the welfare of current and future generations. We are delighted to have you join us for part 1 of the 2-part series entitled Sri Aurobindo, Vegetarian, Integral Yoga for Divine Awakening. Sri Aurobindo was a 20th century enlightened master, poet, and writer. He founded Integral Yoga, a spiritual system that conceptualizes all life is yoga. In his Letters on Yoga, Sri Aurobindo wrote about the practice.
It does not proceed through any set mental teaching or prescribed forms of meditation, mantras, or others, but by aspiration, by a self-concentration inwards or upwards, by self-opening to an influence, to the divine power above us and its workings, to the divine presence in the heart, and by the rejection of all that is foreign to these things. It is only by faith, aspiration, and surrender that this self-opening can come.
Sri Aurobindo presented all living creatures in the world as manifestations of God in different stages of evolution. Therefore, to progress spiritually, one must realize God while living in the world. According to Sri Aurobindo, one's task is not only to realize God consciousness, but to exhibit it and to transform one's entire life in God consciousness. We must experience God and express God in daily life. Therefore, in Integral Yoga, all facets of life are incorporated into one's spiritual practice and in the realization of the inner master. Born Aurobindo Ghose in Calcutta, India, on August 15, 1872. Sri Aurobindo came from a family who took pride in Western culture. His father, an assistant surgeon of the Rangapur in Bengal, wanted his sons to receive the best education and to take up a career in the Indian civil service. So, when he was 7, Sri Aurobindo and his brothers made their passage to England for their formal education. In 1884, 12-year-old Sri Aurobindo attended St. Paul's School, where he excelled in his studies. His outstanding academic performance earned him a scholarship to King's College in Cambridge. He was well grounded in Greek and Latin, and could also read French, German, Italian, and some Russian. Despite all his academic successes, Sri Aurobindo realized that true knowledge is not attained by thinking. It is what you are, it is what you become. After graduating, Sri Aurobindo returned to India in 1893 at the age of 21. By this time, he had spent 14 formative years of his life in England. His name, Aurobindo, means lotus, which is the symbol of divine consciousness. And it seemed as though Sri Aurobindo's divine consciousness was beckoning him back to his homeland. The moment Sri Aurobindo set foot on Indian soil in Bombay, he had a spiritual experience. He was touched by a deep and abiding peace that, unbeknownst to him, heralded the beginning of Sri Aurobindo's blossoming spiritual life. Spending the next 12 years in Baroda, now known as Vadodara in the state of Gujarat, Sri Aurobindo worked in various administrative positions. He started off as the secretary to the Maharaj Sarijao Gaikwad III. He then turned to teaching. He was a gifted teacher with a great sense of humor and an unorthodox, mesmerizing coaching style. Remarking on Sri Aurobindo's unusually insightful eyes, Baroda College's principal Clark once said,
"There is mystic fire and light in them. They penetrate into the beyond. If Joan of Arc heard heavenly voices, Aurobindo probably sees heavenly visions."
Sri Aurobindo later went on to become the college vice principal. Cherished viewers, it's now time for a brief message. We'll be right back to explore more about the life and teachings of Sri Aurobindo here on Supreme Master Television. Welcome back to Sri Aurobindo, Vegetarian, Integral Yoga for Divine Awakening, Part 1 of 2. While in Baroda, Sri Aurobindo began to search and rediscover his Indian roots and the richness of its traditions. He read many literary works, the Mahabharata, the Ramayana, the Bhagavad Gita, Kalidasa's poetry, as well as the writings of Homer, Dante Alighieri, Horace, and many more. In linguistics, he studied Sanskrit, Hindi, Bengali, Marathi, and Gujarati. In addition, Sri Aurobindo penned and published his first collection of poems. Sri Aurobindo had several spiritual encounters during his time in Baroda. He saw the Godhead hovering above and protecting him, averting a potentially serious accident, and witnessed the living presence of Shakti in a Kali temple on the banks of the Narmada River. In another instance, a passing Naga sannyasi, Hindu ascetic, cured his ailing brother with a cup of mantra-infused water. This would be the experience that set Sri Aurobindo on the path of yoga. Sri Aurobindo began to participate in the movement to establish India as a free country. As with all things he was involved in, Sri Aurobindo devoted himself tirelessly to create an awakening in the Indian people for independence. His political involvement ended with his detention in 1908. During his detainment in Dalipur, West Bengal, Sri Aurobindo was visited by visions of Vasudeva. A spiritual transformation came over him. He saw God's presence in all things, even in those who had committed crimes.
I looked at the prisoners in the jail the thieves, the murderers, the swindlers, and as I looked at them, I saw Vasudeva. It was Narayana whom I found in these darkened souls and misused bodies.
Awakened, Sri Aurobindo made a transformation from politics to spirituality. Sri Aurobindo describes his enlightenment in this beautiful poem, Thy Golden Light.
Thy golden light came down into my brain, and the grey rooms of mind, sun-touched, became a bright reply to wisdom's occult plane, a calm illumination and a flame. Thy golden light came down into my throat, and all my speech is now a tune divine, a paean song of thee, my single note. My words are drunk with the immortal's wine. Thy golden light came down into my heart, smiting my life with thy eternity. Now has it grown a temple where thou art, and all its passions point towards only thee. Thy golden light came down into my feet.
In a lecture on March 21st, 1989, Supreme Master Ching Hai spoke of Sri Aurobindo's enlightenment.
以前呢，在印度有一位大名师啊，他被关在那个牢狱里面的时候，他就打坐嘛。他每天继续修行啊，他没有感觉到不自在，因为我们打坐那个方法好的时候，我们的神识可以出去。晚上啊，我们放自己的身体在那里床上睡觉，我们自己去佛或是天国的境界去玩，所以我们没有感觉到不自在的，哎。所以他那个人他叫 Aurobindo， 然后他出去的时候，政府放他的时候，他马上变名师了，他收很多徒弟，他非常出名，国籍出名了，不是印度而已啊。所以有的时候我们在这个情况上啊，也可以变坏成好嘛。
Next week, we will join Sri Aurobindo in Pondicherry as he meets the most important person in his spiritual life, his spiritual collaborator, and learn how Sri Aurobindo came to be immortalized in the creation of his ashram and spiritual community. In closing, let us contemplate on our choices in life with Sri Aurobindo's wise words.
The spiritual life proceeds directly by a change of consciousness, a change from the ordinary consciousness, ignorant and separated from its true self and from God, to a greater consciousness, in which one finds one's true being and comes first into direct and living contact and then into union with the divine. For the spiritual seeker, this change of consciousness is the one thing he seeks and nothing else matters. Sri Aurobindo, Letters on Yoga, Volume 1.
For more information on Sri Aurobindo, please visit sriaurobindoashram.org. Delightful viewers, it's been a pleasure to have you with us today. Join us again on Sunday, September 20th for part 2 of Sri Aurobindo Vegetarian, Integral Yoga for Divine Awakening. May your life be blessed with boundless love and tranquility.
Our programs offer many languages. Please visit suprememastertv.com/schedule and suprememastertv.com/ls.
Nos programmes offrent plusieurs langues. Veuillez visiter suprememastertv.com/schedule et suprememastertv.com/ls.
Nuestros programas ofrecen varios idiomas. Visiten suprememastertv.com/schedule y suprememastertv.com/ls.
ਸਾਡੇ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਪੇਸ਼ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਨ ਅਨੇਕ ਭਾਸ਼ਾਵਾਂ। ਕਿਰਪਾ ਦੇਖੋ suprememastertv.com/schedule ਅਤੇ suprememastertv.com/ls